So welcome to the Bob Neuroinclusive conference that's being hosted by Simon Tarrant, myself and the Bob ICB. Simon is holding the fort with a lot of technical stuff at the moment. So I'm going to introduce Rachel and Simon will be kind of dipping in and out as he can and hopefully fully joining when some of the technical stuff is sorted out as well. So welcome to Rachel. Rachel Corser is the Chief Nursing Officer for Buckinghamshire, Oxfordshire and Berkshire West Integrated Care Board. And she's kindly offered to give some opening comments to the event today. So over to you, Rachel. Thank you.
Thank you both, and thank you for asking me to join. And I think the fact that we've got what looks like over 125 people on this conference already is a real indication of everyone's commitment to this wonderful agenda. Just by way of context, so as Marie said, my name's Rachel Corser. I'm the Chief Nursing Officer here at Bob ICB, and I've been in post just over a year. And one of the reasons why I wanted to come and work in an integrated care system was to do some of the things that we are doing for our most vulnerable and compromised of our population, where we know we are seeing unacceptable levels of variation and inequality in outcomes. And actually that feels fundamentally wrong. And it really saddens me on a personal level and professionally that we are letting our population down in such way. So having a conference like today where we can really share, we can shape, and we can try and develop practices that allow the best for our populations who are neurodiverse is so important. Really grateful to Simon and Mary for all of their input in what we're doing here, because it's challenging, and isn't it going to get even more challenging? Some of you will have heard on the radio this morning, you know, the pressures that the NHS is under, and in that regard, you know, that means that sometimes people get forgotten. And you know, isn't it awful to think that it is sometimes our population who are not able to fight for themselves, that don't have an equal voice in our system, are the ones that often get left behind and forgotten. And therefore the things that we're going to hear about, the practices that we're going to share today and the developments that we're going to shape are all because of the commitment and those of you that are here today. So I feel incredibly proud and privileged to do the job I do and have the executive leadership role that I have in supporting this agenda. So I won't go on any longer, but just to say an enormous thank you to all of you, to my team, to all of you that work hard and tirelessly each and every day. And I can't wait to see the readout and hear about some of the things that have come from today. And I'm just sorry I can't be with you for the whole day. So thank you both for asking me to open this fantastic conference today.
Thank you, Rachel. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to share some information to set the scene for the day and give some of the guidelines and also share the agenda with everybody. So hopefully this will work now. So I suppose first of all, I just wanted to say a really big thank you to Simon. And I've put at the top of this, thoughts become things, and sometimes they're good things. So Simon and I had a conversation earlier in the year about how it would be great to have a conference in Bob around neuro inclusion. And what I've learned about Simon as I've been working with him is when you have a conversation with Simon about how something might be good, it doesn't just stop as a conversation, it actually turns into a thing, and he makes things happen. And I think that's really, really fantastic. And that's kind of how things have really come together today. And I'm doing all the talking at the moment when he really should be. He should be owning some of this, but he's putting together a lot of the technical stuff. I think every day's been a school day for Simon, trying to pull some of this together, and he's just done a really fantastic job. Why is this conference important? So Rachel's already talked about that a little bit. So what we know is our autistic population and a number of people with ADHD as well are overrepresented in a lot of our services, particularly our mental health services. We also know that neurodivergent people, again, particularly autistic people and often people with ADHD have got a shorter life expectancy. And that's not because of ADHD or autism themselves, it's because of the healthcare and mental health care and things that are around them in their world that impact on their life expectancy. So it's really important that we change things and that we get things right. An important thing to note is we sent out invitations for expressions of interest for this conference today. I have to say we got 22 offers to present back really quickly. So one of the things that we wanted to do was highlight the good work that's already going on in the Bob ICS, and we wanted people to have the opportunity to share that. And what we found is there really is a great deal of work going on and some really fantastic work. And thank you to the presenters that are presenting today to share some of the things that they've done. What we wanted to do was create a situation where other people could see what's going on and you could pinch with pride, you can take things, learn things and bring them into your own workplaces, and importantly make a difference for the people that we work with alongside as colleagues, but also that we support as patients and service users. The invitation was around autism and ADHD. We're very mindful a lot of the presentations today are around autism rather than ADHD, but that's something that we want to think about going forward and reflect on and see what we can do to encourage more presentations if we have this event. Simon's very keen to have this event, maybe face to face next year, but to make sure ADHD doesn't become the poor relation to autism services as well. So the guidance structure for the day, we're going to have hosted tea breaks. So after the presentations, they're going to be long, sort of 30 minutes hosted tea breaks. We're inviting you to stay if you want to, go if you want to, have a walk, get a cup of tea, dip in and out of those hosted tea breaks. But the aim is for us to have opportunity to chat together about the presentations, ask the presenters any questions that you have, and just make some connections with each other. The chat function will be something that I think Simon will be turning off through a number of the presentations. We've had some presenters say they'd rather not have the chat function working. It can be very distracting for people. There is a question and answer sort of section. If you look at the top of your screen, there's a little Q&A bit. So if you've got any questions that you want to post that we can pick up on, please let us know, and we'll kind of look at those and we'll pull those out in the Q&A session and the hosted tea breaks as well. Please feel welcome to have your cameras on or off, but probably off when people are presenting. It makes that easier for Simon then not to have to try and pinpoint who's presenting. But when it's the hosted tea breaks, the cameras can be on and the microphones can be on. But for the presentations, microphones off, please. If people could just avoid putting up emojis as well whilst people are presenting. I know it's really lovely to be able to kind of connect and say to people that you appreciate them and that you're listening and responding to their presentations. But again, it can be distracting for people who are maybe less used to presenting or easily distracted. Just welcome to everyone who's here today from across all of our services, including those from the voluntary sector and our experts by experience as well. So it's brilliant to have you all. We've got a great representation in terms of presenters from across services, but also those of you who are attending today. We'd like to keep our language neuroaffirmative. So for those of you that maybe are not so sure what I mean by neuroaffirmative, that means we're not viewing autism or ADHD or other neurodivergences as something that's wrong or broken. We see it as part of a range of neurotypes that are part of human diversity. But what we think is sometimes it's the system that's wrong and broken, and that's the thing that causes the challenges for a lot of people. It's not to say that autism and ADHD don't have difficulties that make living harder at times, but what we acknowledge is a lot of that is around the environment and the services, and the barriers are the ones that we are often creating, not that created by the conditions or differences themselves. So this is the plan for today, and we know we've tried to fit a lot in. Again, that's because we had so many offers and we weren't able to include all of the brilliant presentations that were put forward. I think one of the things Simon was talking about is the potential of maybe having some webinars or something going forward, so we can still include other things. So first of all, we've got a service user presentation or presentations, and that's about barriers and impact of reasonable adjustments. Simon is hosting that. He's organised and coordinated all of that. And for those of you that don't know Simon, he's the Autism and Crisis Care Pathway Development Manager for Bob, for the ICS. Then we're going to have a presentation about rethinking autism and ADHD, a journey to diagnosis, from diagnosis to inclusivity, and that's by Dr. Jason Lang. He is a clinical senior lecturer in neurodevelopment from the University of Glasgow and an honorary consultant child and adolescent psychiatrist. Then we'll have a hosted coffee break. That's myself and Simon with Jason, so you can ask any questions. I haven't introduced myself. I'm the neurodiversity lead at Berkshire Healthcare. My name's Mary Evans. I'm also a clinical director in Berkshire Healthcare. Later presentations will include autism spectrum condition and probation practice, treating common mental health difficulties in autism. And then we have some short presentations after lunch. That's the Autism Growth Project approach in Reading, thinking autism in acute hospital settings, developing a positive autism identity in children and young people, and a presentation about the pathway for eating disorders and autism, the PEACE pathway. Then we're going to have a presentation about meeting the needs of neurodivergent children with anxiety, and a presentation about reasonable adjustments for autistic adults in an outpatient setting. Our final presentation's not going ahead, that was planned on the agenda, but we're going to use that time to really look at pledges for change, because what we want people to do today is take things from today into your practice and into your work with the people that you support. What we'd like to do is make sure that things kind of have an impact, and we want you to have a great day, but we also want to make a difference going forward. So I'm going to end on two quotes. So whilst neurodivergent people are overrepresented in mental health services, there are many strengths to autism and ADHD, as well as many barriers and challenges. So I've got two quotes here. One is by Temple Grandin, and she said, "What would happen if the autism gene was eliminated from the gene pool? You would have a bunch of people standing around in a cave, chatting and socialising and not getting anything done." And I really like that quote. And then Kevin Roberts, a man with ADHD, said, "Having ADHD means you have challenges and obstacles to success. But I have seen over and over again that when those barriers are confronted and worked with through treatment, self-awareness and support, some magical things often result." And I think what we'd hope is that from today, some magical things result from today as well, and that you can take those things away and make a real difference for the people we work to support. So thank you. So I'm going to stop.
Yeah, well.